So today, we are going to go over how to buy and manage a restaurant in The Sims 4 Dine Out. It's pretty simple to buy a restaurant to get everything started. So Brendan has been working on his house here for a while and upgrading a few things here and there, but he's got a bit of money left over and he wants to start a restaurant. So what we're going to do is go down to the bottom right corner and we're going to get him a restaurant. If you have Dine Out as well as Get to Work, you're going to see an option to buy a retail store and buy a restaurant down here. Otherwise, you should just see the option to buy a restaurant. So what we're going to do is buy a restaurant. And then it's going to take us out to the map view. So what we'll do is we're going to get him a restaurant here in his hometown in Oasis Springs. The first thing that we're going to have an option to do is transfer money from our household funds to our business. By default, it goes to 10,000, but we know that we're going to want to put a lot of work into this, so we're going to go ahead and put 50,000 over. You'll see when you start working on the restaurant that it's got requirements for what actually makes it a restaurant. Sink, toilet, chef station, dining spot, waiter station, and host station. We're going to put all of these items down as we go. But the first thing that we're going to need to do is put a building down for this. So we're going to make something very basic, not too big, generally just to go over the basics of what we need in a restaurant. Now is where I would do yakety sax. So now that we've got a quaint little restaurant for Brendan to start working in, let's go ahead and focus on what's absolutely important in here. We'll just go right down the list. So the first thing that we're going to need is a sink and a toilet, which means somewhere in here we're going to need to put a little bathroom, or probably a couple bathrooms. So let's do that first. So now we have a couple of bathrooms, so our sink and toilet requirement are met. Now we need to focus on a chef station. So where are our chefs actually going to cook? The good thing is that with Dine Out, we don't need a full-fledged kitchen. We actually only need this one little chef station where our cooks will actually do all of their work. So let's find a nice place in the restaurant to put that. As your restaurant gets bigger, you may want to think about room for multiple chef stations, but as we know that this is going to start off fairly small, we're only going to worry about the one. The next thing on our list here is a dining spot. We need at least 4 places for people to sit, so we'll throw down a couple of tables for people to sit in our fancy new restaurant. So now that we've got places to sit, let's add some decor to these tables. One thing that's really neat about Dine Out is you can actually fit a lot of items now on tables, and Sims can still eat at those tables. So now that we have ample seating for our Sims in our tiny restaurant, we need to focus on a waiter station. A waiter station is where your waitstaff is going to take dirty dishes to clean them. Now, last but certainly not least, we need to focus on a host station. The host station is where Sims are going to come whenever they first enter your restaurant to try and get a table and talk to the host or hostess. Now, your host station doesn't necessarily have to be in the restaurant. A lot of really cute restaurants I've seen on the gallery actually have them just outside of the restaurant. But we are going to go ahead and put this one inside. And there we have it. We now have all the makings of a fully functioning restaurant. Now let's take a look at managing it. So we'll notice whenever we go back into live mode that we've got this little exclamation point, oh my god, something's wrong icon on our Manage Employees button. What we're going to need to do first and foremost is hire some employees to actually work in this restaurant because unfortunately Brendan can't do it all by himself. So let's take a look and see what we can get. The first thing that we'll need to do is hire a chef. Now these icons that you see down here are actually going to be the skill level for the people that we're going to hire. The higher their gourmet cooking and their mixology skill, the better chef they're going to be and the better quality dishes that they're going to be able to make in your restaurant. The next thing that we're going to want to do is hire a waiter. Same as your chef, they're going to have skills you're going to want to focus on as well. These are going to be charisma and fitness. And for our host, we're going to want to look at their comedy skill and charisma. Now that we've hired employees, you'll notice that our "oh my god, something's wrong" icon is actually gone, and we can go ahead and open up our restaurant. Before we open though, we may want to look at a couple different things, such as our restaurant menu, which currently only serves water, and the dress code for our waitstaff. The dress code that we have right now, by default, is looking pretty much okay, so we're not going to go ahead and mess with that. But we will take a look at our menu. Now, since we have a low-skilled chef, we're going to want to stick with low-skill appetizers and things like that. So we're going to keep everything at 1 out of 5, as opposed to some of the more difficult dishes, which will be 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, something like that. So we're going to put some easy stuff on the menu to make sure that our dishes come out nice and tasty and not poor quality. Now, as an owner, Brendan's only going to have control over so many aspects of the restaurant. But one thing that's very important for him to do is welcome customers, make sure that they're taken care of, comp their meals if things start to go wrong, and various other interactions that he has with them. Another thing that Brennan has control over is whenever things start to go wrong with his staff members, he can criticize them for their poor work. One thing that we've already noticed is that these customers wish that the place had more friendly service, which means our hostess probably isn't being very nice to people. So we're going to go ahead and manage her, and we're going to criticize her for her poor work. But our customers do like the fact that they're being welcomed by an owner. So while we went down to 2 stars, we went right back up to 3 because Brennan's such a good restaurant owner. If you notice that an employee is doing a good job at work, then instead of criticizing them, you can actually go and praise them for their work as well. And if you notice that they're doing a good job consistently and you see their skills going up, you can promote them. Another thing that you can do to help with their skills is you can actually pay for training. And what they'll do is after work, they'll go and get training for their skills and they'll come back a better employee than when they left. Over time, you'll notice that you build up perk points for your store. So if you look down here in the bottom right corner, you can look at your business perk tabs and you can actually buy perk points. Some of them are permanent, some of them are temporary. I would make sure you read through them carefully, but you can buy things like additional waiters, or you can have customers tip more, or typically buy more expensive items on their menu. If you find that you're having a hard time meeting your Sims needs and running your restaurant at the same time, much like a retail store, you can actually build a living area in your restaurant, and you can lock the doors to make sure you keep customers and employees out. After so many hours, your employees will start to get tired and probably a bit ornery, so you might want to consider closing your restaurant after maybe 10 or 11 or so hours. So now that we've closed our restaurant for the day, we get a little summary of how our day went. We can see where we have opportunities to grow and where we really shine. I hope Brendan getting a half a star closer to his goals helps you learn a little bit more about running a restaurant in Dine Out. Until next week, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I'll happily read them and answer any questions you might have about the newest game pack. I will see y'all next Wednesday, and until then, happy gaming and happy restaurateuring.